Welcome to the Calm Your Nervous System podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Adams, somatic ADHD business coach, and this is a space for you if you're a sensitive, neurodivergent, heart-led business owner who wants success without burning yourself out. Here we blend nervous system regulation with trauma-informed business strategy so you can increase your impact in a way that actually feels safe, sustainable, and aligned. You'll hear practical tools, honest behind-the-scenes conversations, mindset shifts, and a good sprinkle of spiritual woo, all designed to help you put your body first, trust yourself again, and create more ease, energy, and abundance in your life and business. I'm so glad you're here. Let's go calm your nervous system. Welcome back to the Calm Your Nervous System podcast, and today I have Jess Martin on the podcast, and Jess was actually my mentor last year, and she is a business mentor, podcast host, and founder of a multi-six-figure personal development brand for women in business. So I'm very excited to speak to Jess today. Her work is rooted in the belief that when a woman upgrades her inner world, her business naturally follows. So she focuses on subconscious reprogramming, energetic mastery, and feminine leadership. And Jess, I love how you have helped so many women raise their income ceilings and just being bougie as fuck and being okay with it. And the whole premium client attraction and the premium lifestyle I love. So thank you for coming on the podcast all the way from Australia. So it's very early my time and late your time, I guess.
Literally opposite ends of the day.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and it's an honor.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. And I guess to get started, I would love to know one thing that has always surprised me about you is just this almost unashamedly confidence that just oozes out of you. And I just want to ask, what is that? Where does that come from? Do you have those days where you just think, oh my God, I can't do this? Do you have those doubt days? Because you just seem so confident
Absolutely.
all the time.
Absolutely. Absolutely do still have those days, but I will say the confidence has grown a lot over the years with all of the personal development work I've done. I feel like I've always been an outgoing person. I'm a Gemini manifesting generator, so it is in me somewhat to be a leader and the confident one. But in saying that, I grew up in a household where show-offs, in quotes, were not allowed, and to openly be proud about your success was put down. So yeah, it's been a journey to be able to come back to this person that you see today and be quite confident. A client called me audacious the other day, and I would take that.
Yeah, I love that.
But yeah, no, it's been a journey.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you as well, with obviously the slight cultural differences, me being in the UK and you being Australian, there's something, you hear about the tall poppy syndrome in Australia, right?
Yeah.
But when I was over there, I remember sitting down with Jodie in the tropic, and my stepsister was there, and we were talking to her son, and I think Jodie said to him so how's school going or something like that, and he was like, yeah, I'm really really good, I'm really good in school, I'm top of the class. And we were like, wow. And my stepsister was like, well, they're just kind of like that in Australia, that they're just like, yeah, I'm good at something. And we're like,
Yeah.
why can't we own that? Is that just a
Yeah.
cultural thing that whereas Brits were like, yeah, I'm at the absolute top of my game. Oh no, I'm really crap. I'm really shit at what I'm doing. What
Yeah.
is it?
So tall poppy syndrome definitely is a thing for sure, where you have to stay humble and not boast about yourself too much. But I think if we look at a ladder, I think UK are at the bottom with that, and then Australia, and then the US are at the top. They are so confident. They will
Yeah.
happily tell you about how amazing they are, and I personally love that. So I think we're somewhere in between the US and the UK. I think you guys are the worst.
Oh my God, we're so self-deprecating. It's crazy that
I
the amount
remember.
of qualifications that women have to take, that and we're still we're just not good enough. I've got three master's degrees, but I'm not good enough. It's just
Yeah.
yes, you are.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is interesting. And I get the confidence thing as well sometimes, that sometimes I genuinely feel like it, probably 60, 70% of the time, but there are those times where I'm just like, what am I doing? I can't do this, and the real behind the scenes like questioning ourselves. And I know you came from a network marketing background as well, but obviously I know you were in law before, but that was your kind of segue into
Hmm.
entrepreneurship. And this is something I've noticed with a lot of like successful women in business. They seem to have gone through either like a door-to-door sales or a network marketing thing before they go into entrepreneurship. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about what that taught you, because I have my own theories about rejection in there. So how's that helped you?
Well, that is true. I feel like every entrepreneur you talk to started in network marketing. So, network marketing still gets such a bad rap, which some companies should. The one I was with, which was Arbonne, certainly shouldn't. However, yes, that was my first taste of entrepreneurship, which you get thrown out to the wolves and you get told you are a scammer. Why would you join a pyramid scheme? And for some background, which made the judgment even worse, I was a lawyer before this life and was a very good lawyer, personal injury lawyer. And I had done that for 7 years before I fully resigned. But I was 2 years into my law career when I decided to do network marketing. And at that time, network marketing was my way out of law to create a life with more freedom and wealth and, yeah, the ability to spend more time with family. And so I had decided to leave my law career to jump into an industry like network marketing. So you can only imagine the comments I received from people, utter confusion as to why I would leave a safe, respectable career to do something that is a scam. So I've heard it all. And honestly, it kind of drove me. I remember saying to people, you just wait until I get my Mercedes, because that was an incentive within network marketing. You just wait. I will either come and pick you up and take you for a drive, or I will do a burnout on your front yard. So,
I love
and
that.
yeah, when I got my Mercedes, not through network marketing, later on bought my Mercedes, and people still today will say, you actually did it. You got that Mercedes. Like,
I love
yes, so
that.
screw you. um, but no, I do have quite thick skin, and yes, I did hear all of the comments under the sun, and it's very, very relevant in network marketing. But I think you've just got to believe in yourself, and that's always got to be greater than any resistance or pushback you'll get from people who usually have no idea what they're talking about anyway. So,
Mm.
yeah. But yeah, it's crazy that so many did start in network marketing. And you know what? I would not be here today if it wasn't for starting in network marketing,
Oh
because
wow.
it teaches you so much about business and sales, but also it was again that test. Are you in this despite the judgment and the criticism and most people in your life not understanding what you're about to do or are doing? Yeah, you got to really have that thick skin to make it through.
Yeah, and I nearly ended up going down network marketing because it was when I was working in commercial in the Ministry of Defence, and it was when lockdown had hit, and the only thing I realised I liked about my job was, the salary was nice and the people. Like I loved going into the office and having a chat with people. I didn't really like the work that much. And then obviously lockdown hit and there was no people again,
Yeah.
and I just had the work. And I was looking around me and I was like, this isn't my life. Like I don't agree with any of this. I'm bored of it. I don't really care. Like I'll take the money and go. Like I genuinely don't give a shit about what I'm doing. And I don't want to live my life like that. And I think we probably hear from like our parents' generation that say, get a good job, you'll get a good pension, it's a good career for life. You go for like the status of the job. And
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I've earned like 55 grand at the age of 27 or something, which is a pretty decent wage at that sort of age. I think I was a senior commercial manager, so I had the fancy title. I'd always had nice cars because, petrol head, but I was just like, what am I doing? So I saw this network marketing opportunity, and it was um someone I met on holiday years ago who was selling like these water machines
Oh
that
yeah.
they like alkalized your water or
Yeah.
something like that. But they were like 5 grand. But it wasn't just those machines, it was the whole sort of lifestyle that it came with, that you go into their company, you work for yourself, um, they give you all this amazing training, and it was very much like the personal development. As you know, like when you go into any kind of entrepreneurship, it is personal development on crack. Like
Oh yeah.
there's a lot of it. And I think I got a taste for that. And I was like, oh, there's all this like abundance mindset stuff, the subconscious reprogramming, the like there's no cap on your income, there's all this opportunity. And they were kind of dangling that carrot, but then it was selling these water machines. And I was just like, no, because I quickly saw like the pyramid scheme of it, that you only made money by hiring people. And like, is anyone really going to be buying a 5 grand water machine? Like, how are you going
Sure.
to make money from that en
Yeah, I feel like your
masse?
work would have been in that.
Yeah,
At least
yeah,
my company was skincare, makeup, and nutrition, which were products I was using anyway. And there were products for $29, products for $300. So there was a little bit more room to move. But yeah, selling a $5,000 product only, a lot of work in that.
yeah, yeah. But I think this goes back to what you say about the believing in yourself and believing in what you're selling. So whether that is skincare, whether it's a water machine, or whether that's our coaching, we on those days where we have those wobbles, like we need to have that faith in ourselves. So like what is your why when you're having that one of those days where you're doubting yourself? What do you come back to? What is that belief or that why?
That vision for sure. I can see what my work does for women's lives. I've seen it over and over and over again. I know what's still to come and just seeing that so clearly. So I think if you are listening to this and you have the wobbles more often than not, we all get them no matter how successful you are in business, they come. Entrepreneurship is the biggest roller coaster ride you'll ever get on. And I love a scary ride and it's the worst one. um, so when those wobbles do come up, and if they come up more often than not, go back to that vision and really identify that why. So for me, that is so clear, and it's seeing women across the globe, thousands and thousands and thousands of women making so much money, more than they know what to do with, living a luxurious lifestyle where they have the nice house and the nice car and they have hired help and they travel first class and they buy the handbag and they give back to their family and they donate to charities. Like I see such big lives for these women, and I want women to have that because it's not just about the money in their bank account or what their lifestyle looks like. It's a sense of freedom that I think every woman should have within their life, freedom financially, but also freedom within themselves. Perfect example, before we hit play, I've had to fly home this week to be there with my family, and I was only able to do that because of the freedom I've created in my life. It breaks my heart to know there are women who don't have choices like that to get on a plane and go home and be there with family, or be home when their kid's sick, or have to say no because they can't afford it or they don't have the time. Like, it breaks my heart. I think everyone deserves that freedom. So yeah, having such a clear vision and seeing that, like I've done it time and time and time again, gets me through those wobbles every single
Mm,
day. And then actually getting to work alongside women and seeing that work firsthand. And that's the cool thing about our work, is we are in close proximity with our clients. We actually do walk that journey with them, and there's no better feeling seeing someone go through that growth. So yeah, that's my why. And again, if you have the wobbles, go and get a bigger why, because it will pull you through every day of the week.
mm. And what's just coming to me as well is the just the inherent feminine quality of receiving. Like we're not put here to hustle and grind and work our asses off. Like the feminine energy is to receive. But there's something in so many of us that I think we've seen our mum's generation, probably the first generation that had to work and just put up and shut up and just got on with things. And we've kind of inherited that, this like just too much work basically. Um, when really it's on us to receive. Obviously, we have to, well, do something back. We're not just sat on our asses doing nothing all day. I don't think many of us would want to do that. But there's such a big block I see with so many women with being able to receive. And
Mm-hmm.
what's interesting in what you just said as well is around the freedom, and what's coming to me that I see a lot in my clients is we're no longer trapped by a corporate job that says, you can only have X amount of annual leave or you have to ask for an appointment off, anything like that. We've almost taken that structure, I see this in a lot of my clients, and put it onto their entrepreneurship. So now they're in charge of how much they can earn, in charge of their schedules, but they're still like working evenings. They aren't able to look after their kids as much as they'd like to. They're overworking and undercharging. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on why that is, and especially from your sort of subconscious point of view, like what's going on? Why are we doing this?
The simple answer is the brain is addicted to the chemical cocktail that happens in the body when they are hustling and overworking and proving themselves, which is that adrenaline rush, cortisol levels. Your body, yeah, becomes addicted to it just like a drug. And so consciously they want to slow down and receive, but the subconscious sees that as so unsafe and like a disadvantage because they're not getting that cocktail and that hit that comes on when they are pushing their absolute limit. So in in a short way to answer that, they saw their parents work really hard. Their brain only sees that as familiar. The programming is now, in order to do anything in life, you have to work really hard. And if you don't, that's in quotes unsafe. And so the brain wants to be back in situations like that because it feels at home. It's familiar to be overworked and struggling and tired. And then again, it creates a chemical cocktail in the body that it becomes addicted to. And this is why we see so many women finally catch a break. They'll attract the bigger clients, they'll increase their prices, the momentum will start to build, and then something will happen for them to lose it all. It's so they slip. So because in that moment, right, they were no longer in that state of hustle and proving and grinding because finally they had the money and finally they had the clients. But to the brain, that was unsafe, unfamiliar territory. So something happens, whether they get sick or they manifest the client leaving at the last minute or unnecessary expenses, something will ultimately happen for them to slip back into where they ultimately started, which is that place of struggle. So yeah, it's happening more times than not, and it truly is the cause of most of the burnout and chronic illness among women in general, but entrepreneurs and highly ambitious females. And that's why I
Mm.
love having conversations like this, because sometimes they label it as ambition when it could be an addiction to the struggle.
Yeah, yeah. And I think when you genuinely love what you're doing, it's hard sometimes to put it down. And I know myself, like if anyone's listened to this podcast before, I burnt out so badly. I then got a chronic illness. I ended up in a wheelchair, got myself through that and out of that. It was fucking hard. And I've obviously changed careers now and I do a lot better, healthier stuff for my body now. But I can still see those tendencies in myself to chase and to find it hard to settle down. And like I went for a massage and Reiki yesterday, and I could feel because I've just done one launch and I'm going straight into the other one. And this week has just been the delivery of the first launch. So things are rather busy right now. Hence why I had a massage right in the middle of it. But I was telling myself as I was having this massage, like, it's okay to receive. It's okay to rest. It's okay to relax. And I was kind of just saying, like, receive, relax, rest over and over. And I could feel my body just being like, ah, this is okay. Because my brain is like, oh, I've got an idea for this. And, I could talk to them about this. And, oh, what's this next thing? And I need to do that. And it's, you can tell it sometimes, shut up, but it doesn't work. And I think we do similar-ish work, but from a different point of view. So mine obviously being the nervous system. And with that question I just asked you, my take on it is similar. It's our nervous system asks one question of everything: is this safe or is this not safe? And anything unfamiliar, anything new, it will go, that's not safe. Let's go back to the thing that we know. It's why we end up in toxic relationships and we repeat them. It's why we end up burning out over and over again. So I'd love to hear a bit more. And I know we've had chats in the past about your take, the subconscious specifically, what's going on in our brain and mindset, because we hear this word mindset get thrown around a lot, but like what's actually going on? How do we change it? How's it impacting us?
Yeah. So ever since you entered this world, your brain has been learning what is safe and unsafe, as you've just mentioned, and it makes that assessment based on whatever is most familiar and what's not familiar. So from the moment you enter this world, you or your brain, your subconscious brain, has been observing, listening, being told, do that, don't do that. It's been learning what is acceptable, what will get you seen, what will get attention, what will get you love. And sometimes that is a bad thing, what gets you attention and love, but ultimately the brain is just making this assessment. How or what do I need to do to be a part of community? Because as humans, we need community. That goes back to caveman times and it's still very much in our wiring. So, particularly before the age of 7, your brain, your subconscious was just being programmed. This is what you need to do. This is who you need to be in order to be a part of this community. Now, if you grew up in a community or a family where there was a lot of struggle, you had to constantly prove yourself to be seen, you got told to be quiet, move aside, money was spoken about in a very limiting way. Ultimately, your brain was learning, I need to think like that, behave like that, and do that so that I stay within this community. And then it leads to ultimately a computer system or a program that is running your entire life. Now, if you want to know what your subconscious program is, just take a look at your life. Dr. Bruce Lipton, that's a quote by him, and it will tell you what your program is. So take a look at the patterns with money. That will tell us what your subconscious program is, and we'll easily be able to track that back to whatever was happening for you throughout your lifetime. There will always be a correlation. As you've mentioned, relationships, jobs, clients, where you live, your quality of life, even down to your physical symptoms in the body, will always track back to what was familiar and most common for you growing up. The brain has just learned to survive in a setting like that. And just like you said before, the moment you start to step out or away from that program, the brain goes, hold on a second, this isn't what we are used to. What do you mean there's more money than we know what to do with? We're used to money being limited. This feels too unfamiliar, therefore unsafe, and so something will happen so that you lose that money. So you go back to living in accordance with that program. So it is just a computer system, but the good thing about a computer is we can get in and upgrade it. So you're not stuck with the brain that has been conditioned or been learning in accordance with your limiting circumstances up until this point. We can get in and upgrade the software. So just like we know with a computer, it will only operate however it's been programmed to operate. But the moment we get in and upgrade it, it will just perform a new function. It doesn't have the ability to say, actually, not today. No, thank you. I don't want to be updated. So knowing the right practices and exercises to get into the subconscious, we do have the ability to give it a new programming. So what are the new beliefs and the new stories you want to have when it comes to money and your lifestyle and what's available to you? What's that program look like? And then let's get in and actually embed it into the subconscious with enough repetition that eventually it becomes your new program. And now you start thinking and moving and deciding and living in accordance with that new program.
That's interesting because one of the things you say in there about the kind of how do I stay in this community, in this family. And I know for myself, one of the ways I used to get attention as a kid was being ill because I wouldn't
Mm,
really get attention unless I was like, my tummy hurts. No, you're fine, Jen. My tummy really hurt until I'm like on the floor, like I can't move. And then I might get, oh, okay, do you want to stay at home and like watch the TV for a bit? And I get a bit more like softy softy. Funny that I ended up in a wheelchair in my 20s.
yeah,
Like my
yeah,
body obviously manifested that's the way to get attention is to get
yeah.
sick.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's a testament to all of the growth that you have done within yourself for you to see that. And that's why I love having these conversations because so many women have lived in a particular identity or a particular life and not realizing that we created this for
mm,
some reason. And if we can identify why we created this, the healing journey can begin. So yeah, that's huge that you've been able
yeah,
to.
and I've spoken about this on the podcast before because obviously there was stuff going on in my life that kind of pushed towards this, but I can remember clearly being in a place where I was like, I'm not very well. And then I went into an environment where my ex had a disability and his whole family were basically in like the Who's Got It Worse Olympics. So I was obviously part of that, of like, let me prove how bad I've got it too. Continued to just get ignored. So what did I do? I turned up with a crutch, still got ignored. Okay, let's get sick enough that I can't physically walk. I need a wheelchair or a scooter to get out. And then people might pay me attention. It still didn't really work. It did to some extent, but I still just, oh, you're not that bad, are you? Just get on with it. And I'm like,
Like, I
oh
will
my
show
God, what do
you.
I need? What do I need to do? And at that point, I think, well, a few years later, I just thought, what am I doing? Like,
Yeah.
I'm in my 20s. I don't think at the time I realized I necessarily created it, but I thought I can affect this. I have choice. I don't
Hmm.
just need to give all of my power away to the doctors who have told me this is it, you're going to be in a wheelchair for the rest of your life. Thank God I didn't. Because,
Mm.
yeah, look at all the things I've done
Well,
since.
yeah, you are walking proof that we do have a choice in what happens from here.
Yeah,
You've done a
yeah,
full 360. It's
exactly. And
crazy.
not just of my health. I think I was 5 stone heavier, in and out of really nasty, shitty relationships. I'm like happily married. I won't even talk about Nate because I'll start crying. But we've been together for like nearly 7 years. Just the way things can change is incredible. And I think one thing I see a lot of my clients, and I don't know if you see this, is that sometimes you can almost see more for them because they just want to get out of this stuckness. They want to get out of the initial problem, the burnout, the chronic illness, the, overworking, and that would be what they're happy with. But once they've got past that, the world opens up and there's
Yeah.
so much more available for them that if you told
Yeah.
them at the beginning, they're like, nah, no, I can't do that. So, yeah, I'd love to hear actually. Are there any of those examples that come to mind with your clients that maybe they started with you saying, I would just like to get to, I don't know, maybe 10 grand months or work less, spend time with the kids, and actually they've gone on to do so much more.
Yeah. What I'll just say quickly is a shift in perspective is one of the most powerful things you will ever experience. And sometimes it's one sentence with the right person that just absolutely opens everything up for you. But yeah, actually, we had which you were a part of last year, the immersion, which happens at the end of my business mastermind here on the Gold Coast. And as you would know, Jenny, I put together a video of everybody's transformation. It takes me so long, but I pull all of the Zoom videos and put it together where we watch back on their first opening call and then their last call. And one of my clients was an engineer before she jumped into my world. And so she was an engineer and she had just become a high ticket closer, but hadn't even resigned from her job yet. And she jumped on the first session and was terrified about even dreaming of leaving engineering because it's so safe and it pays good money. But she was there because she wanted to work for herself and she wanted to get into high ticket sales. Anyways, there was a video and we watched back, and she was sitting there saying, I know I'm being silly to think that I could ever replace my engineering salary. Engineers earn so much. I think she was making about 10K at the time. And she said, I would love to make 10K in my business, but I need to start being realistic. So my goal for the business is $5,000. And I'm going to be happy with that. And that's still pretty good. Anyways, fast forward, we celebrated her $50,000 month in July. And that first video that I just spoke about was in September last year. So from
Wow.
September to July, she went from doubting 5K months to easily making 50K months.
Wow, that's insane.
Yeah.
Well, it's not
But
insane,
she put the
that's
work in with all of this stuff we're talking
yeah.
about. Her subconscious program was, I need to be an engineer because my identity's wrapped up in this. It's the only career my parents understand. If I get into high ticket sales, what are we going to talk about because they don't get it? So we had to do a lot of reprogramming around acceptance within herself and also just believing in herself, even if nobody else understood what she was doing. But yeah, 5K to 50K months in less than a year is pretty wild.
Yeah, that's amazing. God, well done her.
Yeah.
And, well done for you and her both doing the work. But it just goes to show what is possible and how much our brains and our bodies hold us back sometimes.
Oh, crazy.
And that's another question I have here that's come off the back of that is how do excuse me, how do you upgrade your subconscious? How do you stay focused? How do you change things when you're in the same environment? Obviously, we know the importance of being in masterminds and being around women that stretch us, but when your friends are the same, when your family's the same, and they have that very rigid mindset, and you're the only one trying to change things, and your reality is saying something different to what your subconscious is trying to bring in as something new, how do you manage that kind of fight between here's where I want to go and then reality being like, no, no, this is where you are?
Yeah. You get in and you upgrade that subconscious program as soon as possible, because once the computer has new programming, it will automatically perform a new function. So we can definitely look at new environments and taking risks and behaving differently. But as you've mentioned, you'll end up fighting with yourself between the conscious mind who wants the things and the subconscious who doesn't want the things because you've never done it before and it means it's unfamiliar and unsafe, all the things we spoke about. So there are two practices that you can implement in your day, and these will change your life even if nothing else changes. And that is a mental rehearsal meditation in the morning and a sleep meditation at night. Now, the reason the timing of those two practices are so important is because of the way that your brain waves are. So I mentioned before, a lot of the subconscious programming took place before the age of 7, and that's because your brain waves were quite slow. You were ultimately in a hypnosis state. Therefore, everything you got told, everything you observed, just went straight into your computer system. You enter that state again naturally in the morning when you are first waking up and at night when you are going to sleep. So we can optimize this hypnosis state that you naturally go into anyway by listening to certain tracks that will get in and provide a new program to the subconscious. So the mental rehearsal meditation was founded on a concept by Dr. Joe Dispenza, and it is the act of visualizing a future scene that you want to create, but dropping into the scene as if you were actually there in that moment. So a lot of visualization practices put the future scene in the future and you almost watch it on a screen, but this gets you to be in the scene. So walking through the house and seeing your hand touch the coffee mug or smelling the candle, listening to the music, walking through this scene like you're on a video game. Doing this every single morning, and while you're in this scene, really feeling like you're there. Now that takes practice, because when you're first in the scene, your body will say, this is not real. But if you can evoke an emotion of, I'm actually here, like excitement, certainty, which you can train yourself to feel, eventually your brain doesn't know the difference between this visualization and a real life experience. Now, if we go back to the very first thing we spoke about, the biggest resistance to change is that your brain looks at something and says unfamiliar, therefore unsafe, we're not going to go there. So by visualizing this future scene every single morning, we're showing the brain what it looks like, feels like, what it is like, and therefore we're making it more familiar, as if you've lived this scene time and time and time again. The moment the brain is more familiar with something and you're in that scene feeling really excited and therefore safe, it's almost that permission slip to the brain. Let's go ahead and create it now. So that's the morning. And then at night, which is the easiest subconscious reprogramming practice you'll ever do, because you put 2 AirPods in your ear and you just go to sleep and allow the track to do the rest. And again, that's been designed to capture what's called your theta brainwave frequency, which is essentially hypnosis. And when you are in this state going to sleep, you're listening to a track that provides suggestions to your subconscious. My particular one is around wealth and success, but it's just I am statements, in inserting a new identity. And again, because your subconscious, like a computer, doesn't have the ability to shut off anything or say no to anything, we are just reprogramming. It's like getting a cassette tape and rewinding it and then recording back over it. That's what you're doing every single night. So you do those two things, you will just start to think differently. Your inner dialogue will automatically be different. You'll start to behave differently, even if your circumstances haven't changed. Now, the moment your identity starts to shift, naturally, you'll have the courage to start that business or increase your price. one day you'll wake up and you'll just get the urge to move out of your hometown or sign up to that mastermind. You just start doing things that a different version of you would do because that rewiring is starting to take place. So I was in that position where I really wanted to be full time in my business, but my reality was I had to go to a job, which is being a lawyer, 5 days a week, 10 to 11-hour days, making no money in my business whatsoever. So what I wanted and what I was seeing was so, so different. So I did those two practices every single day. And then when I was in my waking state, I was delusional. So when I was driving to the law firm, I was pretending I was driving to a client meeting to sign them up into my mastermind. Or when I was on my way home, I was listening to podcasts about business and I was really taking it in as if I could apply this to my real business. I was genuinely so delusional in the waking states of my day. And honestly, it's why once I did leave my career and started this business, we hit 6 figures in the first year because of all of that priming work that I was relentless and so consistent with. So yeah, they're two practices. If you do them, you'll just notice a shift and you'll wake up and be like, what the hell? Like I just feel different. And it's because the brain has shifted.
Mm. Yeah, amazing. And Delulu is the only Salulu, right?
It is.
Yeah, it's powerful stuff. And
Yeah.
it's interesting what you say as well about the reality of it, as in like, can you feel it? Can you sense it? Can you taste it? All of those things. Because do you remember last year when I had on my vision board my pink Tesla, and it had been on my vision board since like February, March, I think, last year. I was like, one day, because I was like, we're moving house. I don't need a car. I don't do buses. I don't do public transport. I'll get on a train sometimes, but there's people on them. I don't really like people. Well, not the public. I love people. Don't like the public so much. But
Fair enough.
it was, I think I got that Tesla. For anyone that hasn't heard the story, I basically manifested my pink Tesla. I bought it last October. I'd done one of my best months on record. It was also the month that I booked my business class flights to Australia to come up for your
It was a
immersion.
huge one.
And it was me starting with, okay, I'm going to get myself a Tesla when I'm in Australia just to have it again because I love that car. I'd had two before, given it back. I thought I'll see how I get on without a car for a while. And I remember texting in our group, I can feel the heated steering wheel and the heated seats like warming my hands and bum up. Like I can feel the car. And I think because I'd driven one before, I knew how it drove. I could picture myself in the driving seat of that car. I knew, like, where the pillars were, how big the windscreen was, the panoramic roof, the screen, like all the things, the buttons on the steering wheel. I knew exactly how that car felt. So to actually bring it into reality, I mean, you guys were messaging me because I was like, I think I'm gonna just get one, and then I think I texted a picture with me with the one behind me, and Jodie was just like, "What have you done?" I was like, I may
You
have
went
just
from
bought
an
myself a
idea
car.
to, yeah, you went from an idea to having a pink wrapped Tesla within
Yeah,
a day.
yeah. I think it was
But
three
what you've just,
weeks.
yeah, what you've just said then is so helpful though, because you had already been in a car like that. It made the visualization practice so much easier for you.
Yeah.
So if you are listening to this and you have struggled to visualize the future that you want to create, just like you have explained, see if you can bring it to life now. Whether you go and test drive the car or you go to the open home of that house or you go to a networking event and have someone ask what you do for work and you introduce yourself as the career business owner that you are wanting to step into, just start trying on the reality as much as you can before it's actually yours will make that visualization
Mm.
process so much easier. And I have a very similar story when I got my car. The white Mercedes was on my vision board for years and it wasn't getting any closer to me. And then I decided to make it a reality and I went and test drove the car. And the moment I was able to see my own hands wrapped around that steering wheel and again, see where the buttons are and just feel myself in that car, I took that into my visualization, and then the income in the business just skyrocketed within months. And that is no coincidence whatsoever. And then, much like you, I went and bought the car soon after. So there's so much power in this work, and it's so it's so much more scientific than just, waving a magic wand over your life and hoping for the best.
Yeah, yeah. And I think when I had made that decision, that 2 week period between I went to see the car, decided I wanted it, and they said that they would wrap it in house for me. They'd like spray the calipers, they'd get everything all done nicely for me. And it was like a 3 hour journey away. So I was like, oh, I want to take the car now, but they said, right, we'll do it all nicely for you. We'll present it, and like, there's a hilarious video of me like having the tat like the sheet pulled off the car and all of this, and it was a really amazing experience. But in that 2 weeks, I think I shared it with you guys because you would get it, and like all of you were like, fuck yeah, like we've got your back, this is amazing. But I hadn't told any friends or family because I think it's when you've stepped into that new identity or your subconscious has changed. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. It feels like there's a vulnerable moment where like it's real inside of you, and then you have to go out into reality and be like, have I got the courage to hold this? That if
Yeah.
you go to the wrong person or the wrong thing happens, boom, you're back. It's the like, I feel rich, I feel genuinely abundant, and you can feel it in your body, and then you check your bank account, and it's the, oh shit. Like how do we hold that in those weeks, the moment where something has changed inside of us, but we then have to deal with reality? How
Yeah.
do we hold that?
Yeah. And that's such a common pattern for so many women. They create something, whether it's an income month, a client inquiry, a date with that guy, they create it, but then holding on to it is a whole other thing. And when you think about it, going back to our original conversation, creating something is still very much in that energy of struggling, proving, hustling. So that's normal for your identity to create something because you've had to work hard to get there. But now you've got it and you've got to hold on to it. That's a whole other identity. You're no longer pursuing something, you have something, and you're not used to the identity of having, you're used to the identity of chasing. So it's a huge identity shift, and it's honestly, it comes down to feeling worthy of having the thing that you've just got, feeling worthy of feeling safe, feeling worthy of feeling stable, feeling worthy of the feeling you get when you get in that pink Tesla and you drive around your local area. It's a new feeling that you've got to get used to. And my response to this has changed a lot over the years. And the first thing I want to say is it does take time. It's waking up every single day and just putting that identity back on, going out into the world, using nervous system rituals, which I'm sure you talk about on here all the time. If you get in that new car and you start to doubt that you are worthy of having that, don't try and shut it off or ignore it. Sit with it. Okay, why do I feel this way? What's happening in the body? Do your nervous system practices to show safety to the body. Repeat some affirmations like, I'm worthy of this success, I'm worthy of this car, whatever it may be, just to not only sit in the identity, but again, just prime that safety into the body when it comes to that new identity. But yeah, like I said, my response over the years has changed just because I've stepped into so many identities over the years and I've done all of the work we can do. And sometimes the biggest thing is you've just got to wait it out, and you've just got to get up every single day and just keep trying on that new identity. And eventually it will become just as normal as the one you've left behind. I think some people try and rush that process too much, or they'll get the new car, then they'll get the new house, and then they'll do the bit, and then they do all of these things. It's like, just do one thing, settle into the identity of having that, and then move on to the next thing.
Mm.
But yeah, it's honestly, it's a safety thing, and if you're listening to this podcast, you're in the right place for that. It's just showing your mind and your body that it's okay to be this new version of yourself. It's also doing the work when it comes to what you will lose by being in this identity. And that's a piece of the work that I think a lot avoid, and then they wonder why they sabotage. you will lose something when you step into that new identity. And often ignoring that is the very reason why you head back the other way. So sit with that. What am I going to lose by stepping into that new life? And what good am I gaining by not stepping into that new life? And you're going to find the very thing that's going to ultimately hold you back unless you deal with it. And again, it could be family ties, it could be being relatable, it could be, yeah, that feeling that we've been talking about that's so familiar, but just doing that practice so that you know where your work lies because everybody is so different. But yeah, hopefully that's
Mm.
helped.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense because I mean, you saw my year last year. Like we got married twice last year, we moved house twice last year. I bought my dream car, flew business class to Australia. I think I went to 11 countries last year. I spent like 3 months out of the country. My income increased by 70%. Like 2025 was a big year for me. Fun, tiring, but just so much change. And I think this year there's almost been a bit of a snap back from it in some senses that I wonder how much my nervous system has felt safe with all of that change. Because at one point, having the relationship that I have would have been something I was manifesting, something I was absolutely dreaming of, and it's normal now. But like there's still something in me that I think has had to get used to like I have an incredible relationship, an incredible husband, and I'm married. Like even this morning, I woke up and I'm like, oh, I touched my wedding rings, and I'm like, yeah, I am married. um, there we go, and I'm crying now.
Oh,
But I
I love
think,
that about you so much.
I think I said this in our first call. I think I sent you guys a picture. I was like, I'm gonna cry.
I'm the crier of the group.
Yeah, yeah,
It's beautiful though.
it happens.
But yeah, you're right. There was probably once upon a time in your relationship early on where it felt too good to be true and you questioned if it would stick around. And now, never once do you wake up and question. You just know it's so
Yeah,
solid and here to stay. And yeah, this, like, I think everyone needs to go through that time element until they get to that point where it feels stable and yeah, the wobbles eventually disappear.
yeah. Like when I met Nath, I legit thought he was a catfish because the first message he sent me on Tinder was almost so thought through and so perfect that my brain just went,
This can't be true.
what's wrong with you? Like, what do you want? Or this must be fake. And it took me a while to be like, oh wait, like not all men are assholes.
Yeah.
But that
Yeah.
had been my experience. So yeah, it did take a while. But interesting with what you were saying as well about losing something, because I think it was around that point last year, it was about October, that I bought my car, had an amazing month. I was a lot more visible then as well, that I also lost a friend.
Mm.
So somebody that I'd known for a couple of years. We weren't super, super close, but it was a newish friendship. And I think seeing me grow as quickly as I was and almost stepping into, like you said, audacity earlier, like the audacity to say, I want to fly business class and I want a nice car and I want the Louboutins and I want the luxury nice things, not to just go, look at me, I have a whatever, but because I like nice things. I like the comfort of business class. I like arriving somewhere and not feeling like utter shit and jet lagged. I love my car. But I think especially for a lot of people listening, a lot of my clients, there's something in here for a lot of us spiritual women with doing something good, helping people, the wellness, the giving back, the soul-led work. There's almost a block with we can't then have money. And I think I'm that, well, we're both that living proof that
Yeah.
you can look after people, you can help people, you can support people, you can do something very much heart-led and bringing up the consciousness of the world, and you can have the nice things. And I think this was someone that me living that was just too much of a no, I can't see that. I'm too stuck in my beliefs. And she
Yeah.
just kind
Well, it
of
just
pulled away.
makes them feel uncomfortable, right? Because deep down they would love to have the courage and the roadmap to do the same, but they don't for whatever reason. And you're just shining that directly back at them that they're lacking in their own life. But yeah, it's the reality of growing and expanding. Unfortunately, we leave a lot of people behind usually. Um, but we find our new people as well. I always say that you will lose something along the way, but the whole will be filled very quickly with what's next for you in whatever way that is for you. So, but yeah,
Mm.
it's a question you have to ask yourself because again, until you are okay about that, it will sabotage you.
Yeah, and I wonder if this is why so many women have lifestyle creep as well, that they've almost got used to always living on the edge and, paycheck to paycheck, that once you've got more income, okay, well now we get the bigger house and now we can buy the car and now you're always in that same position, just the money's bigger, but so are the expenses
Yeah, yeah.
because there's something
I've
deep down that doesn't feel worthy or
yeah.
safe.
The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, I believe, is the book that talks about this, but there's studies that have been done on the amount of millionaires who, when you sit across from them, will say they still feel broke and still identify as a broke person, even
Wow.
though their physical reality will tell you the exact same. And they are usually the ones who may be making an absolute bomb on paper, but have not much left to enjoy it because the moment they make more, they spend more, make more, spend more, so that their identity is always the one they've had, which
Mm.
is broke or struggling or whatever it may be.
Yeah. And to me, this just comes back to gratitude for what we have. Because, like, the countries we live in and the lifestyles we live in, if we have a roof over our heads, if we have food on the table, if we have, the right conditions to just live in, there are some people in the world that that's their absolute dream. And we're sat around going, yeah, but my car's like 10 years old and I can't do this. And, I struggle to buy organic food sometimes because it's too expensive. Or, I can't get the latest designer such and such. Or my
Mm-hmm.
iPhone's 4 years old. Or, we can get so caught up in what we don't have that, and this isn't me just repeating what my mum would have said in the 90s, that, there are kids in Africa starving. But like, there are people in the world that look at how we live, and that is the absolute dream for them. And where we live isn't good enough,
Yeah, yeah,
how we're
it's
living.
crazy. And like you said, there are so many who still live in lack, even though they actually live in abundance. And that's why a gratitude list is something that should never get thrown out the window. Just stopping and taking a moment for what you do have and what you did achieve this week and what wins you did have, even if they're so small. It's one, making you appreciate how far you've come, but it's also shifting your energy because if we live energetically in lack, we create results that are sitting on that lack frequency. But if we can take a moment to reflect on the wins and the accomplishments and how iconic we actually are, then energetically we send out a completely different broadcast. And now we're on the frequency of more things that match that, like money and
Mm.
clients and relationships and random coffee orders and money on the street and all these cool things that happen to us when we are on that frequency.
Yeah, yeah, and I think I've shared this in previous episodes. If I ever find money on the floor now, I will always pick it up, and even if I look scabby, I will pick it up, and I'm like, oh, thank you, universe. You're always
Yeah,
putting money in front of me, and
yeah,
it's so funny that we see what we want to see. And I'll give you a weird example of this. So the lunch I've brought with me today, I need to have a lemon to make a certain dressing that I will only eat this lunch if I have this certain dressing on it. And I've been saying to myself, oh, I need to go down the shops to get a lemon, and I keep forgetting. So went down the shops yesterday morning, got a lemon, came back, walked into the kitchen, and there's a fucking lemon sat in the fruit basket. And I'm like, that's been there the whole time. And I've been
yeah.
telling myself, I can't have
I
this
need to
lunch
get a
because I
lemon.
don't have a lemon.
Yeah, that's
And how
crazy.
often do we do this in life with all sorts where we're like, I need this thing, I need this thing, I need this thing. And it's been there all along. There's
Hmm.
just something in us that can't see it.
Yeah, yeah, that is crazy. And it does happen so much. And again, it's because energetically you're in lack, so you only see lack.
Yeah,
Crazy.
yeah. It's crazy. And just tuning into these small things, it doesn't need to be, okay, in my head, I am a millionaire. And then you open your bank account and you're like, well, I'm not. It's the little like, oh, look at this mind trick. I'm in lack over a lemon. That's
Yeah,
interesting. It's just all
yeah,
these little things, which is why I will pick up 5p if I see it on the floor. Because I'm like, it's
yeah,
money. Thank you.
yeah,
Because our
yeah, for
brain
sure.
sees 5p the same as it does like 50 grand, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So one question I want to ask you about some of the subconscious reprogramming stuff, because I've had different points of view. I've done different things with this. So the Joe Dispenza point of view is things will change when you have an elevated emotion. And to me, from a nervous system perspective, that makes sense because memories go in deeper when there's an emotion attached to them. They go in deeper, they go in quicker, which is why we can remember how it felt when the first time we were dumped, or when there's something particularly emotional attached to something, we will remember that because it goes into the brain and as a bit of a light bulb moment, versus maybe the Neville Goddard approach of act as if it's already happened. It's normal. This is like 3 or 6 months down the line. You've already bought the home. You're already living where you want to live. You've already got the car. So, what's your take on this with the we need the like, oh my God, I have the thing versus, well, yeah, of course I've got it.
Yeah. When you think about it, they kind of, those two theories combine and they do have one common element, and it's the emotion behind all of it. And that's, again, going back to your brain doesn't know the difference between a real life experience and a visualization if it feels like it's there. So, Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about a heightened state and then dropping into wherever you want to be, because it's likely the future you're trying to create would create this emotional state. Or a lot of his work is on healing illnesses. So he'll say, feel healthy in the body, feel a certain way physically, and then visualize yourself running down that path, even though your legs don't work. And again, your brain won't know the difference. And so now we're showing what's familiar to the brain. Neville Goddard talks about what you assume will be true. And again, it's evoking the emotion as if it's already here and now, not something in the future, it's already here. And again, that emotional cocktail that we create sends messages to the brain, hey, we're actually here, this is actually happening. And now the brain shifts. And because your emotion sends signals to the brain, and then neural pathways are created within your brain, we're actually changing the wiring within the brain. And Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about that a lot. We have the ability to ultimately kill off old neural pathways that would create limiting thoughts and emotions and fire up new ones. And neurons that fire up together wire together. So yeah, I'm across both of them in that feel the emotion as if it's already here, send those signals to the brain, do it enough times that you now create new circuitry within your brain. And now it's no longer a conscious effort to have to think differently. You've got the hardware in the brain that will naturally think differently, which will send messages to the emotion. And the new thought, emotion, thought cycle that we go on is an upgraded version of that. So yeah, hopefully that's answered your question, but it really is about that emotional cocktail that we create within the body. I also, with my clients, love to bring in the scientific element to this, in that we are all energetic beings and we are sending out a broadcast energetically, and we have the ability to collapse the electron into physical matter by observing. So the observer effect has shown that electrons behave in no particular way. There are infinite possibilities. Only once an observer is present that the electron collapses into a probable outcome. So we have the ability to move outcomes because the outcome we want to create is just energy like we are. So not only do we want to create this emotion as if it's already here, but we want to stay so focused on the things that we want as opposed to the things we don't want, so that we collapse the electron in that particular way. And again, this goes back to what we were just saying before. When you needed the lemon, you energetically were in lack, and so you couldn't see the lemon because you probably hadn't collapsed the electron in that way. But then once you had slipped into, I've already got the lemon, suddenly the lemon was there because you've moved energy in that way. So yeah, I love to kind of look at it like that as well. We are just like a radio, and we are emitting signals, and it's tuning us into realities depending on what that signal actually is.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I think for my listeners as well that are often neurodivergent, have ADHD, I think studies have been shown that ADHDers live more in a theta wavelength state of our brain waves, which I find really interesting because when we're looking at some of the subconscious reprogramming stuff from a neurodivergent perspective, you can see why we take things to heart so much more, that when someone says something, if we're in that kind of hypnotic state, we can take it on. And it's also the reason I realised my 7-year-old niece goes around telling everyone that Auntie Jen's a witch, because I've told her like not all witches are bad, Auntie Jen's a witch, and now she's like, oh yeah, Auntie Jen's a witch. There's no nuance to it. She's just like, well yeah, Auntie Jen's a witch.
That's really
Um,
interesting about those studies, and it makes sense why you do feel so much because if you are in that hypnosis state, the conscious brain, which has the ability to say they didn't mean it like that or we're not going to take that on board, is a little bit more shut off. So everything is just going into the subconscious, and therefore you're responding from that subconscious survival state as opposed to the conscious logical state that has the ability to say, yes, no, we don't believe that, we don't take that on board. So yeah, that I guess it does make a
yeah.
lot of sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, which I think can be used for and against us. I think it can really explain why we are so sensitive. Because at the end of the day, everything we've been talking about, we are just chasing a feeling. We're not
Mm,
looking for a house or a car or a place. We're looking for what those things make us feel. So
yes.
when we are feelers, we are more sensitive and we do live in that theta wavelength state. When we start to use these subconscious reprogramming techniques, it works a lot quicker and deeper for us than maybe a neurotypical person that doesn't live in that state more often. And
Yeah.
like, I will have my headphones in when I'm walking around my town and I will be listening to like, one of your tracks or Neville Goddard or Joe Dispenza or something that's more high vibrational, more like I'm in my own little world. I'm in my own little delusion. I'm not looking at the drunk on the high street who's like on the floor, because I'm like, that doesn't exist. So I'm just in
Yes.
my own little bubble. Like I'm not really here. But I
Yeah.
think that can also explain why so many neurodivergent women burn out as well, because that
Mhm.
they're trying so hard to get into the conscious logical brain, and that is almost their safety of, let me try and work this out, let me take the logical approach, because the feelings are just, you're shit at what you do and you're not good enough and no one wants to listen to you, and all of the feelings attached to it, because that's all you've ever known in the subconscious is all of the shit you've been told. That I think we hear something like 20,000 more negative thought, more negative comments by the age of 12 than a neurotypical person, which is insane. If you think
That is
how
insane.
20,000 negative comments, like what's that doing to our subconscious?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So
That's
when
crazy.
we, yeah, yeah. So when we can
I'd love to
actually
see studies
reprogram it,
where, yeah, I'd love to see studies where you take neurodivergent and neurotypical and put them in a situation where their self-worth has to come into play. And by the sounds of that, would be so contrasting
yeah,
because, we've already spoken about how limiting most. Bruce Lipton says 65% of the programming we all have is limiting. So if you increase that number for neurodivergent who heard way more negative comments, the programming is even more prominent, which is why it's so great you've had this conversation on your podcast to give them the tools to work through this and never have them feel like any of it is truth. It's just the programming, and yours is potentially even more limiting than others.
mm,
So there is more work there for you to do, but there is light at the end of the tunnel. And like you've said, you've also got the benefit of being able to feel so much. So with the right tools, you can accelerate this, but the work is there. And it's the work that if you put into it, will pay you back tenfold. And you are the perfect example of that with everything you created within your own life last year.
yeah, yeah. Thank you. And it is so true that, because I've been using some subconscious reprogramming tracks. I've got Rewire to Receive, which is specifically for neurodivergent women to reprogram their relationship with money and self-worth. And the results are incredible. So this is one of my clients. The day after she listened to a track, she got a new client and she found this exact £10 note
Wow.
buried in the ground.
Did she send that to you?
Yeah. So she gave
Oh,
it
I
back to
love
me. I
that. It's
know, to
framed
say,
and
I
everything.
know, one of many wins. Thank you, Jenny. How
Oh,
sweet
stop.
is
I love
that?
that.
I know, I know. But
Yeah, this
like
it's
what happens
freaky.
so quickly. someone else got her like perfect space to rent the next day. Like it happens so quickly when we can start to use this subconscious
Yeah,
reprogramming. So
yeah. And keep
thank
your
you
head
for,
up to notice it as well.
yes, exactly. So yeah, thank you for opening me up to this world, because this and the nervous system stuff it's some powerful shit. So
Oh, yeah. If you combine the two, you are a force to be reckoned with.
yeah, yeah. So things like the walking meditation, because you're regulating your nervous system as you're walking, you've got that bilateral movement, you've got the
Hmm.
subconscious stuff going in. It works so
Yeah.
quickly, so well.
I'm in the middle of creating a track at the moment which combines suggestions in the morning with jumping up and down and waving your arms all over the place and, doing a sense of lymphatic drainage while you're at it for that reason. We're activating the nervous system, we're using shaking and havening with suggestions in the brain.
Mm.
And I'm excited for that to be done to see what that is going to do for people.
Yeah, amazing. Cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I mean, I know we could talk for hours, but I know it's getting late your time. So yeah, thank you so much. Um, if there's anything that you could share with anybody about, where they could find you, or if they want any more tips, advice, I know you have a podcast, where can they find you?
Yes, I'm on Instagram, which is Jess Martin underscore underscore. I also have a podcast, Abundant and Aligned, with a plus symbol in the middle. If you are wanting to attract in premium clients, that's available on the website currently. And then I have the two practices I just mentioned, the sleep meditation and the guided meditation. At the very least, go and grab those two assets and incorporate them with everything I'm sure you do within your world, Jenny. And yeah, if you listen to this, please send me a DM and just say hello. I like to connect with listeners of conversations and hear your aha moment.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. And also, I should also just finish and say every single day I have been picturing myself sitting in the tropic, eating puff bread and hummus, because I've had it before. I'm looking at the view. I'm even like Googling, like, what does the view look like? And like seeing the sunset and all of the thing. I can see the beach, I can see everything. And I've looked up the shape of their wine glasses because I'm like, we will be there.
I love that, and you will for sure because it's you
Yes.
and you make shit happen.
Yes, exactly. Yes, it's me and Nathan. We're so proud that I've earned 100K by the end of the year, to get to Australia and go there without having to worry about bills at home or anything like that. So, yes, that is what I am putting in my head
Love
every
that.
single day in detail.
Well, I'm rallying behind you, and I will more than happy share a wine with you to
Yeah,
celebrate that 100K.
I will see you there. Thank you so much for coming on. And obviously, we'll put all the links in the show notes below. So, thank you. Thank you so much for being here and listening to this episode. If something landed for you, I'd massively appreciate you leaving a 5-star review or share this episode with someone who would really benefit from it. Your support helps this podcast reach more sensitive neurodivergent business owners who are ready to do things differently and increase your impact with more regulation, more ease, and less burnout. I appreciate you being here, and I'll see you in the next episode.